I came across a video about a young woman who stated that around the age of 13, she was trafficked, and she ended up at one of Diddy's party. And she kind of dropped some names as far as who knew she was there. One of the names she mentioned was Denzel. As I was looking through that video, I ended up coming across another video that she did back in 2022. And in that video, she was dropping a lot of more names. One of the names, well, a couple of names she dropped was Joe Biden, our current president. She dropped Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and let me just go ahead and play the videos for you. I'm going to first show you the video that she made back in 2022. Then after that, I'm going to show the video that she most recently made this year. And I'm also going to talk about, well, I'm going to come back after those two videos, and then I will get into some other things that I came across. It's not going to be the full video. It's going to be just part of the video.
Ally Carter may have the wildest personal story that we have ever heard. Ally grew up in the school of hard knocks, to say the least. She was one of 6 girls in a troubled home. Her parents were affiliated with the Black Panthers, the radical black separatist group, and maybe that's to blame for what happened to her. Ally says that her biological mother routinely slept with authority figures and soon initiated her own children into the same practices. Ally says that her mom would hand her over to be abused by the local police chief. She would take her to a trap house just to be abused. And when Ally coped with that pain by running away or by harming herself, she was rewarded by being placed in new foster care homes, where instead of her mother, it was teenage boys and foster fathers who in turn abused her. She says that this is a system that major American celebrities have knowledge of and participate in. Celebrities like John Travolta, Beyonce, Barack Obama, and yes, Joe Biden.
Thank you so much for having me, Stu. I really appreciate you.
So in July of 2020, you came out on Instagram, you couldn't bottle it up anymore. You made claims about Barack Obama and Joe Biden that shocked the world. How did it get there? Take us through your story.
Well, you know, as young as I remember, I've been trafficked through many elite places. I went from the Buckingham Palace to under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, still under the custody of Child Protective Services, the child welfare system. It went from trap houses in your everyday neighborhood of Moreno Valley, California, and Los Angeles County, strip clubs, and into Hollywood elite parties. There was never a time of peace in my life. And I remember very clearly since 4 years old, there was never a time of peace in my life. It's been ongoing.
Who started all of this? I mean, your mother originally. And then
Yes.
Who carried on? How did you end up in Buckingham Palace and underneath the Getty Museum and alongside some of these household names that I just mentioned?
When I was a child, there was many things that went on in the home. I tried to talk. I tried to let people know. Child Protective Services were called constantly since I was 3 months old. By the time I turned 13, I had enough of being raped and beaten and tortured behind rocks on La Salle in Moreno Valley, California. I had enough of going through dealing with my mother's boyfriends. She was nothing of a mother, but I had enough of dealing with them at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had enough of being the favorite out of the girls, and I couldn't take anymore. So I tried to kill myself. When I turned 13, CPS came into the picture. I was put into mental hospitals. And then finally, I was put into foster care. I thought things would be over from there. I thought it would be fine. And then after all of that, I started thinking that I was talking to someone online, but everybody knew me before I knew them. I was trafficked by a pimp who claimed to be 27 years old, and he was not. I found many passports, many different birth dates for him in his wallet. And when I told CPS this, they put him down as a 27-year-old boyfriend, and he was a 27-year-old trafficker that was going in and out of my homes, paying off my foster parents, and taking me to Hollywood elite parties over and out of the country, which is, you would think, would be where the FBI would have stepped in. I was letting my social workers know, and they told me to stay quiet. They told me that if I told anybody else, that I would be shipped off to Arizona and no one would ever find me again. And everybody is so worried about the elite, and we could give those names of Barack Obama, Joe Biden. We know about Michelle Obama, that's a man. We know about Too Short. We know about Akon and Steven Tyler, and we can give those names all day. And everybody is so worried about that. But what you should be worried about is the people that are in between, the people that go as low as your grave diggers. I was trafficked to people within my schools. I was trafficked in underground tunnels that link under your schools, through your cemeteries, under your amusement parks, through Universal Studios, and into Hollywood elite homes, all over the place, all over the world. And people don't understand that, and they can't fathom that, and they can't put.
So the names that you just mentioned, Barack Obama, Steven Tyler, Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, have you had personal sexual experiences with these people?
Yes.
These people participated in sex abuse firsthand with you?
Yes.
Can you tell that story? Because that's important for people to understand and to know. And to this point, I don't think a national platform has given you the opportunity to say those things.
No, because everybody is complicit. Everybody is complicit. It is covered up by your local FBI. It is covered up by your local police department. It is underground tunnels. There's a whole world. It's a different way of life. There's every source of transportation. When I met Joe Biden, I was rushed through many celebrities. Half of them I did not know. It didn't faze me to see them. It didn't. Some of them were actually very conceited and cocky that I didn't know who they were. Underground, under the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, there are many tunnels. Again, there's a way of transportation. There's every single way of transportation under the ground. I was sold to Joe Biden. Multiple times. Sometimes people don't talk about it, because when you don't talk about it, it makes it okay. When you don't talk about it, it makes you bury it. When you don't talk about it, it's easier, and it kills that part of you. I was sold for blowjobs. I was sold for sex.
Am a dance teacher. I was working as a choreographer, an after-school teacher, a volunteer for doing hair at foster care agencies for free. I was starting to turn around and try to feed the homeless and go back to where I come from, packing backpacks and things for children. I don't need everybody to love me. I don't need everybody to like me. To each its own, right? I have been screaming underwater since I was 3 months old. I went into foster care at 13, 14. We tried to do a case against Riverside County Child Protective Services, because Riverside County, do you hear me? Riverside County Child Protective Services was involved in my trafficking. Can y'all still hear me? Can you just... Cool. Thank you. So, Facebook, you good? Can y'all hear me? Hi. Yes, you hi. Can you hear me? Cool. Thank you. I never thought that we would see the day where Diddy would get arrested. And I told you guys in that Maria Z interview in 2021 that no one tells on Diddy. P Diddy. All right? Just the same way nobody tells on Denzel Washington. People don't usually talk and stop and think about the children victims that are going through things right now as we speak, and the ones who suffered through all this bullshit. I decided to stop for a second and do some projects with projects all around, because we just said, you know what? This is our life. It's not changing. We stopped somewhere, and I've been hiding. My mom and I have been hiding. We've had our head down. We've tried to back up. We've tried to tell you everything that we can, and now we have people messaging us, investigators, people that want to talk now, when now it's because it's trending. We're still not on the subject of the kids. All the adults are covering their asses. All the adults are, I left at a certain time, yet you knew children were there. You knew these parties were not okay. They weren't freak-offs. They were satanic ritual orgies. Get it straight. It wasn't just adults in these parties. The adults were responsible for the child sex slaves that were in the party. And one of those children were me. Now, those who are trying to come at us now, talking like, oh, well, now the Diddy's out, now that you can talk. For why? Because we tried to have a case with Child Protective Services. We gave them 8 months worth of evidence. 8 months worth of evidence. That didn't even do a crumb. They took that case and they hid it. If you are a survivor and if you are a real victim, be careful. Because these hotline numbers that they're putting out, I don't trust them. I wouldn't do it.
They take your information to see what you have.
They're taking inventory.
And then they shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking inventory. So don't trust them. Don't trust the feds. Don't trust the judges. Fuck all y'all. You're all guilty. You're all corrupt. Any attorney that's taking money to defend Diddy, you're nasty and vile.
That's blood money.
That's blood money.
That's all blood money. You do know that, right? Whether you take money for him to shut up, whether you take money from him for period, that's blood money. I don't want anybody's money. Not even Lassane. And let me make something very clear. Even though it runs in my family, you can't fake your death. That shit is expensive.
I want to start off by stating that any abuse to children, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or actual, predatory, whatever it may be, it has a special place in my heart. And the reason why I spoke about it on this channel before, when I was 9 years old, I was never trafficked, thank God, but I was SA. So I know how it wears on you mentally, and the people who have been in it longer, being trafficked, being put to different people, is not only wearing on them mentally, but as well as physically. So I'm very serious about this topic. Now, with the first video she did, the guy kind of introduced her by stating some things in the opening of that video. One of the things he stated was about her parents being associated with the Black Panther Party, and that's probably why she ended up being abused. I don't understand what the Black Panther Party has to do with her being abused. A connection was never made. The Black Panther Party was between 1966 and it ended in 1985, or was disbanded in 1985. Her birthday, which I'm going to show you, where she actually put it herself, was February 15, 1994. So she was born 9 years after the Black Panther Party ended. So once again, why did he have to mention that? What relevance were the fact that her parents was associated with the Black Panther Party and her being ex-trafficked? Like I said, I really don't understand. He didn't explain how they correlate, and she did not explain how it correlate. And then another thing that stood out to me when she started mentioning the people names that, because she says she kind of ended up in foster care because her mother was with police officer also in a trap house, and then she was passing her daughter off. She was passing Allyson off to police officer in the trap house. She never stated why her mother did that. Was her mother addicted to drugs? Is that why she was doing that to her? Did her mother have a pimp and her pimp was making her do that? Or was her mother her pimp? You see what I'm saying? She never explained why her mother was doing this. And then another thing, she said, she ended up in foster care. And then that is when she actually started being ex-trafficked, trafficked to different people, as she said, basically all over the world, and to elite parties. The reason this is not sitting with me as far as just believing everything she's saying, it's like she's just throwing everything out there, and there's no connection of how these things meet up. Oh, I was, the Black Panther Party. I was given out to local officials. I was in trap houses. But how do they correlate? How do these things match up? Oh, I was sex trafficked. And then she mentioned why she didn't understand when her 27-year-old pimp, trafficker, or whoever he was, that CPS knew about, and knew that he was actually doing that to her as well as other girls. Her foster parents knew, but she was saying that she didn't understand why when he took her out of the country, the feds didn't do anything. Why would the feds do anything if no one is talking to the feds? In order for the feds to get involved, someone would have to talk to the feds. It's not illegal for a child to go out of the country with their relative, with the parent or someone like that, or a guardian. So unless they knew for a fact that this man was not related to you in any type of way, or if they knew that he wasn't your guardian, why would the feds step in? Why would the feds do anything? So unless there's information that you have that someone reached out to the feds to let them know that, hey, this person is trafficking me, they would have no reason to get involved. So to just randomly throw, I don't know why the feds didn't do anything, that they should have got involved. Why should they have gotten involved if they don't know what's going on? They're not just going to start looking at minors and, hey, are you being trafficked? Are you being trafficked? Unless something stand out to them, or something doesn't match up. So there's a lot of missing pieces to her story that makes me question her story. And then when you look at the second video, it's basically the same thing. She's throwing names out there, and it just doesn't make sense to me. One of the things that one of the things she did in both videos, like I said, it's like randomly she's throwing out names. In both videos, she threw out Donald Trump's name, not as him being part of the issue, but him being wanting to stop that issue. And she, you know, how she was speaking about you can't trust anyone, you can't trust the government, you can't trust the feds. The CPS is the one that's behind the trafficking. And, you know, if anybody reach out to you, kind of like talking to the victims, if anybody reach out to you with these phone numbers and different things like that, don't speak to them, don't call them, don't speak to the lawyer. I have never in any of my videos told a victim not to reach out to someone for help. Because if you're telling them they cannot trust the police, if you're telling them they cannot trust the feds, if you're telling them they're everywhere, they're watching you, they're in your school, they're your gardener, they're your this, your that, you're instilling fear into these people. You're taking away their hope. And as a victim, why would you take away another victim's hope of ever getting out of that situation? So if they did get arrested or they did get confronted, they're not going to say anything because of the ideal you're putting into their head. They should always reach out for help. They may not get it the first time, but you encourage them to keep trying. Someone will eventually listen to them. But if you tell them everyone is evil, and you're dealing with kids, you're going to put in their mind, I cannot trust authority. Yes, there are people. Anytime you have predators, people who are into kids, every time you have wicked people who are into kids, you're going to find them at working at amusement parks, theme parks, playgrounds, anything that involves kids, churches, schools. You're going to find them everywhere. But along with those people are also good people who will watch out for them, who will look out for them, who do care about them. So to sit there and tell them, no, don't get in contact with anyone, no, don't reach out to anyone, that makes me question you. And I'm going to explain to you, this is just my opinion and the feeling I get listening to her. If she been through any trauma, anything like that, my heart do truly go out to her, and I pray that she get the help that she need. But everything is not matching up. And I want to go over an affidavit that she put out there. She said she did an affidavit of truth. It's not the full affidavit. It's only part of it, and and it's not even like full pages where you can read the whole thing. It's part of it is cut out. And I'm only going to share 2 parts with you of the affidavit that stands out to me. I will put the link to where I came across the affidavit, but let me first get into what I'm talking about. Before I get into reading the affidavit, part of the affidavit of truth that she put out, that Allyson put out, I first want to state this. I'm not saying whether these people that she mentioned, these names she threw out there, I'm not stating whether they're innocent or guilty. I'm not focusing on them because I don't know them personally. I'm not in their circles. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know where they've been, who they partied with, who they didn't party with, what they was involved with, what they wasn't involved with. If they are doing anything illegal, if they are doing anything with minor, anyone, not just the people that she mentioned, anyone, I do hope they find justice. I do hope justice reach out to them and touch them with a swift hand. Anyone that's involved with child sex trafficking, anyone, I don't care who it is. They shouldn't be doing that to kids. But to get into her affidavit of truth, the thing that stood out to me, she went over 4 names. Brian Christopher William, aka Birdman, aka Baby, DOB 21569. Denzel Haynes Washington Jr., Sean Love Combs, aka Puffy, aka Puff Daddy, aka P Diddy, aka Diddy. And number 4, Jasiel Armand Robinson, aka Young Jock. The thing that's standing out to me about the first part, well, the affidavit just looks strange to me. I don't know if this is a California thing, but it just looks strange to me based on all the other affidavits that have came out. But what stood out to me, there's only one date of birth, and that's for Birdman, aka Baby. He's the only one that has a date of birth next to him. No one else does. Then the next part, it says the Playboy Mansion after party held in Simi Valley on or around 2009 to 2010 while I was in foster care. I, Allyson Leilan Carter, previously known as Outlaw, attest under oath the following account of my and all my alter partners' personal experiences to the truth and accurate to the best of our knowledge regarding the Playboy Mansion after parties attended by Birdman, Denzel, Diddy, and Young Jock. My date of birth is 2/15/1994, and this party was on or around, and then it cuts off. And so that's where I got her date of birth from. She put it in her affidavit. So in 2000, she said that, like I said, she stated that she started being trafficked when she was 13, which was in 2007. And so she would have been around 14, 15 when this incident happened with the Playboy Mansion. The reason that this part stands out to me, Hugh Hefner, who was the one who owned the Playboy Mansion and threw those elaborate Playboy parties that everyone was talking about, he had a stroke back in 1985. And when he had a stroke, his party started slowing down. And then between August 7th of 2005 and October 11th, 2006, they kind of switched around because he was no longer the Playboy, because he was older, because he was born in 1926. So I forgot what age he was around the time that he kind of, slowed down and stopped having them parties. But around August 2005 and October 2009, the show The Girls Next Door came out, where he was just, basically at home, walking around his house, and he had 3 girlfriends. That was his life. It kind of became a reality TV where he's showing off his mansion and his 3 girlfriends, and the camera was just mainly focused on them because of his age, and every once in a while you would see him, go out with them, but basically he was just around the house. So he could not have been throwing any parties that she would have been in with Denzel, with Baby, with Young Jock, or with Diddy, because the Playboy party scene was over, and there's no Playboy party without Hugh Hefner. That would be like saying, oh, I was at a Diddy party, but Diddy wasn't there. So there technically it wasn't a Diddy party, it was just a party. So you can't say you was at a Playboy Mansion party, even if you're trying to say it wasn't at the Playboy Mansion, because Hugh Hefner was no longer throwing parties, and he would always throw his parties at the mansion. Initially, he had the Playboy Bunny Club, but that went away a long time ago. But as far as the mansion parties, those parties had been over way before she even came into the scene. Because, like I said, he had a stroke back in 85, and she, according to her date of birth, she was born in 94. So his party days was over way before she was even born. So I don't know how she ended up at the Playboy Mansion, going through tunnels and all this other stuff to get to his mansion. And so it's things like this that she's saying that's make me question her validity, because it's like, You're saying a whole lot without saying anything. You're not telling your story. How did you end up in sex trafficking? You're giving out, oh, it's everywhere. This person is doing it. That person is doing it. Don't worry about the elites. Why not worry about the elites? It's like, don't worry about what the elites doing. Focus on the middleman. No, focus on everyone. If you can bring down anyone that's defiling children, do that. No one should be off limits. If the kids aren't off limits, then the people who's doing it, they should not be off limits. But you're saying don't tell anyone because everyone is out to get you. All the authorities, no one is going to help you but protect the elites. And you keep saying people are worried about the elites, but they're not protecting the kids. But if you're not telling kids, if you have an opportunity to reach out to someone and tell them, you're not helping the kids. Because who's going to know where the kids are unless there's some type of trail? If you're saying you have all this documentation of how crooked the Child Protective Services is, but you're not giving out that information. You're saying you have our kids from when you was with the Bidens and the Obamas and all this. Where are those kids? This would be the best time to come forward with that information when there's an open door. It's almost like it's an open door. Come forward and we will help you. If you don't trust these people, go vet an attorney yourself, someone that you do trust with that information, and then make copies. And so you would have that just in case they decide to get rid of it. No, have your copies. Give them copies. You keep the original. It's ways around that as far as getting information. And if you don't want any money for it, you just want the information out there, send it to different news outlets, send it to different attorneys, send it to different senators in different states. Just send it out to everyone. Believe me, someone would get that information and do something about it. If you're saying you got all this documentation that can really put shine a light on what's going on with CPS. But if you're not putting that information out there, you're not helping those kids. The average person, if you're not in that circle, if you're not involved in that, how would you know that's going on? You know stuff like, just like I know stuff like this is going on, but where am I going to say, hey, look there, look there, look there, because I'm not in contact with anyone. I'm not in those circles, so I'm not going to know. I can voice my opinion. I can voice things. I can say, hey, be aware, look at this is going on, but I can't point them in the right direction. And if you have evidence that's saying CPS is crooked, they're the ones who run in this operation when it comes to kids. You're doing these kids a disservice by not putting that information out there. And this is the other part of the affidavit that is standing out to me. Part of it is cut off, but you see, it says was part of the King of Comedy. He also wore a gold chain. He was complaining that he did an hour set, but there was no one to backstage. This comedian broke the no AX rule and had AX with me anyway, and just laughed. I screamed for my handler, Pimp. Everyone was laughing. I ended up getting in trouble. The thing that stood out with this particular thing is the word backstage. And I'm sorry, before I go to that, even though you see on here they're mentioning about animals, it could be real animals or it could be people dressed up, with the animal heads. That's some people fantasy. I don't know why. They dress up like animals. They have those heads that are panda bear or a horse or whatever. So it could be that type of costume kind of play, or it could be the real animal. I don't know. But the thing that stood out to me about this was the word backstage, and let me show you why. This is the feeling I'm getting between December 2023 and March of 2024. That's kind of when all the stuff came out. First, I did a video about a woman named Michelle Loud, and she was stating that Cora Jade stole her baby from her. And then that's when the situation with T.D. Jakes came out about the power bottom. And then everyone was focused on power bottom. But part of that email, it also stated that he was involved with a child, allegedly involved with a child. And that's what stood out to me more than the power bottom. And so I was stating then that, and then another thing, Larry Reid started making videos, and in his videos he was saying that it's more people that was being groomed at T.D. Jakes, allegedly being groomed at T.D. Jakes' church, and that Larry Reid, was getting in contact with the victims that, said something happened between them and Jakes. But the thing that kind of made my ears perk up is when he was saying that he would get in contact with the victim. He would take their information, their name, their phone numbers, and everything, and turn it over to T.D. Jakes' team. And I'm thinking, okay, why would you do that? Why would you not tell them to go to the authority and tell what happened to them when they was minors? Because one person, he said, his parents took a payoff, but now because he's an adult, he wants to go ahead and sue. But as you can see, nothing came out about that. Don't know what happened, whatever, But he was saying that he was getting in contact with the victims and then turning their information over to T.D. Jakes' team so they can kill it, so they can dead it. And so that information wouldn't get out. So that means if it was going to be a payoff, they would take the payoff, and that would be that. So that's one thing that stood out to me. And then the second thing, like I said, Michelle Loud kept saying that Cora Jade stole her baby. And then she ended up hooking up with Larry Reid. She was saying that she had all this information on the Jakes family as far as all this evil stuff they was doing. Because she said she befriended and met Cora Jakes when they was kids, when they was minor. And she grew up and was like in their household. So she seen a lot, she heard a lot, and she had a lot of documentation, and she had a lot of behind the scene things that was going on with the Jakes family. And then she was saying that she was hooking up with Larry Reid so he can help her get her baby back from Cora. Then during this time, she came on with the video saying that her house was robbed. And all the documentation that she had was also taken. So I'm sitting there like, okay, you already know his reputation of allegedly taking these people, getting their information, and giving it to the Jakes security or whoever. So why would you go to him and not go to an attorney if you're trying to get your son back? Why would you go to him knowing that he's on the other team working for the other side? you know, I don't know if he's the middleman, the broker, or whatever, but that's how he sounded, and that's how he portrayed himself. So why would you go to a broker but you want your son back? Wouldn't you go through legal authority to get your child back? So she was saying all the information was gone, but at the same time, yes, Cora Jade's do have her son, but that's Cora Jade's son now. Regardless because she's saying that she was manipulated. Regardless of how the beginning, the ending is that child is now legally Cora Jade's child, and she can't do anything about it. But the same messiness that I felt during that situation is the same messiness that I feel now. It's almost like she's having conversation she's talking to the general public, but she's actually having conversation with someone else. And the only people who's going to understand what she's saying is the people who know the code that she's speaking. Because it's like, why would you only list one birthday that ends in 69? Why would you mention about backstage and then you have a backstage page? Why would you want to be in the entertainment business as an actress when you're seeing how wicked the entertainment system is? Why would you want to go into that business when it's wicked? Or is this a back page type of situation? Are you really helping these people, or are you gathering people? I don't want to say that because I don't know if it's true, but when I looked up, because like I said, why would you put down that you went to a Hugh Hefner party when that man had started partying before you was even born? And then you were saying that it was in Simi Valley, California. When I looked up Simi Valley, California to kind of see, you know, what's going on, why that location, they said one of the things they stated about Simi Valley, California is that it's a good place for an airport. Well, it has airports there. And with these airports, you can kind of go anywhere in the world. It's like wherever you want to go, you can go leave from Simi Valley Airport and go anywhere in the world. So, like I said, I don't want to say it, but I'm saying it. My opinion, my thoughts, whatever. I don't know you, so I'm not alleging you're doing anything. But it sounds like you're saying don't worry about the elites. It sounds like you're saying, hey, if you're out there and you're kids and you're hearing this, don't go out and get help. But you want to put it out there on Front Street. You want transparency. Transparency will be you giving the information out that you have. Don't worry about everybody else's transparency. You know what you have. If you have information that CPS is running a scheme by trafficking kids, shouldn't you be transparent and put everything out there? The affidavit that you put out wasn't even transparent. But was that a conversation that you was sending out code and then people know how to get in contact with you through Backpage? Was that information about certain kids? Hey, the only person who had a birthday was baby. Then who really, you know, if you're not putting all the information, but you put Denzel Washington Jr., you made sure everyone knew he was a junior. It's like none of that stuff really makes sense. And like I said, a lot of times you just threw names out there, you threw location. It's like every conspiracy theory that you can think of, you threw out there at the same time into the world. Like I always say, it's three types of people. It's the people that are true advocates who have been abused, who are true advocates for kids. There are people who have been abused and don't say anything. There are people who've been abused and become part of the problems. They become the abuser. So I don't know what your situation is. It just doesn't sit right in my heart when I look at your videos and they don't make sense. I'm going to share another video with you, and she's talking about her goal was to become a bottom so she didn't have to continue getting bad jobs. And then she also mentioned Russia. She threw Russia out there, that she was trafficked to Russia. But like I said, it's a lot of information but no details. It's a lot of conversation but no story. It's a lot of this, that, and that, but no direction.
Pimp who sold me to Russia one time, he promised me that it's weird in I mean, everything is backwards, but in trafficking, in being a prostitute, there's rankings to things. So a trafficker, a pimp, and a John are three different things. When you are one of the girls or one of the guys, you have a kind of a ranking, and being bottom bitch means being top. So when at one point you had to work for that ranking, though, if there's multiple girls or multiple boys in a pimp's possession, you have to work for that ranking. You have to work for that, basically, respect from your pimp to be able to have your pick of jobs. And it's not like you get to pick if you don't want to be hurt. It's just kind of choosing a lesser evil type of situation. So if you find that ranking, or if you have that ranking with your pimp, then you can kind of pick what jobs you want. So if there's sex machines, then you can pick kind of the least painful sex machine to have to be on for hours. So with my pimp, I started learning that if I was nice to him, if I didn't fight as hard, if I gave up with the fighting, and if I just did what he said, then I would become bottom, which means top. He proposed to me when we were 15 years old. And his promise, with me being his wife, I was running around in very expensive diamond rings. My mom smashed so many of them. My mom now, when she found them, she smashed some in the street, and she didn't understand. I wasn't telling her everything. I was just saying I have a 27-year-old boyfriend. I have my man, my husband is a grown man, and I was 15. So when he proposed to me, the promise was that if I said yes, and if I did what he said, then I would stay with him. And he, there was other girls that I saw with him. There were other girls that I shared him with. That sounds so ass backwards, but when you say it like that. But that was backwards to say. But it is what it is. We had this deal, and this deal was that he wouldn't, the other girls and the other boys that he had, he wouldn't just leave me. He wouldn't sell me out of country and leave me there. He made that promise, and of course, there's no promises that he kept. They were all empty and broken and lies. So when I had to go to this auction, and this man from Russia purchased me, I thought, okay, we'll just come right back. And the first time he said, you'll leave with him. He wants to have what's called a girlfriend experience, where they're able to take you home and they're able to keep you for the weekend, and have you wake up next to them, is the girlfriend experience.
And another thing that I kind of found strange, I recently watched the video, and in this particular video, it didn't have anything to do with Allyson. It was a cousin speaking about her 13-year-old cousin. In that video, she stated that her auntie met a man, and this man was open and upfront with her and let her know that he spent 10 years in jail for actually SAing a 13-year-old. He let her know up front that he was a predator. She still got involved with him. And then they stated that they knew, and they kept reporting it to CPS, that their 13-year-old cousin was being abused. They didn't say by who, and they did not mention, because she was being interviewed, they did not mention the mother, what was going on with the mother. They did not state why, knowing that there was a child around, because she also stated that her auntie had an 11-year-old child from the man who was a predator. No, she knew he didn't sneak into the family. They allowed this predator into the family. And so he came around the child when she was around 1 or 2, because if they got an 11-year-old and she became missing at 13, so that would mean he had to be around while she was 1 or 2. Why she was in the household or around him, knowing that he was a predator, I don't know. But they kept saying it's CPS fault because CPS didn't do anything. They presented all this information to CPS, but CPS didn't do anything. CPS. And that was frustrating me, because I was trying to understand, why is it CPS fault when you allow a predator, the family allow a predator to be, if the auntie wanted to be with that person, no kid should have been able to go to auntie house while the predator was there. That predator would have not been able to walk into my household, regardless of how he feeling. I don't trust you around a child when I know you spent 10 years in jail because of your fetish with a child. But, but they kept blaming CPS, and that did not make sense to me. And then with this situation with Allyson, they're also blaming CPS, saying that it's CPS fault, which don't make sense to me, because if you got all this evidence, present it, be transparent, put that evidence out there so people who can help these kids will be able to see it. But if you got evidence and you're not willing to put it out there, just like you put it out there on the internet, you could put it, your affidavit, you could put that information out there. But, like I said, when you see that second video of hers, the third video of hers, it's like it's still just out there. If she truly is a victim, I do feel bad for her. If that was her experience, I feel bad for her. But it's just a lot of things are not making sense. I would never tell a child not to get help. They have the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The phone number is 1-800-843-5678. So they can help locate these people. They can help these kids get found. There are different people, there are different organizations that truly help and support finding these kids, bringing these kids back. There was a movie out, Sound of Freedom, about the very same thing. It was made by Angel Studio, about child sex trafficking, and the show, it was based on a true story, how this officer, I think he would work for the Fed, I forgot, but he went out there on his own, risking his life to get these kids back. And there are people out there, so don't ever tell a child, reach out for help. Reach out for help, keep speaking, keep talking. And it's just, God is not a God of confusion, but don't put confusion out there, because that's not helping anyone. You can't get to the truth if you're trying to wade through all this information, misinformation, disinformation, not complete information. If you truly want to be an advocate for kids, you have to give all the information so people know how to help them, know where they're at, know where to look.